Hi, my name is Jeremy Knight with Knight Guitars, and we're going to change some strings here today on this acoustic guitar and just give you some pointers on best way to change your strings. Lots of different types of strings out there. For my handmade guitars, they're best suited for light strings. So that's the way I set them up. If your guitar is not built for medium gauge strings, you put those on there, sometimes you can have some problems over time. So anyways, lots of different types. I like DR strings. They're handmade strings. You got a handmade guitar, why not use handmade strings? So a lot of strings come in all different types of packaging depending on the manufacturer there. These days they'll put two different strings. Strings are numbered. 1 is the thinnest, 6 is the thickest there. So they're numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 from there. So a lot of times they'll package 2 strings per package there. Okay, so we got our strings. You might want a string winder. You don't have to have one of these, but they're handy. Save the twisting there, and they also have a peg puller there. So the type of bridge that we have here is a pin bridge. So bridges, guitars are made with pins. Sometimes some manufacturers will make them with their strings going through the bridge and they won't have pins. So that'll be a little different down here. But all right, so let's get to it. I like to change my strings from starting at the lightest gauge, the first string there. And so I'm gonna pull out carefully. Actually, I think this is a double pack. Maybe, maybe not. So this is our first and fourth string, all right? So I got my first and my fourth, all right? And so we're gonna loosen that up. Now you can take them all off at the same time there. You know, some people recommend not to because that can change the tension quickly. So it's a good idea to just change a couple at a time. Plus, if you just change a couple at a time, you can use the strings that are still tight to gauge that. So, all right, so I've loosened the strings up enough there, my first and my fourth, all right? And now we gotta pull the pin out. Now, sometimes you can just pull it out with your fingers, or sometimes you need this string puller here. It's got this little notch there. I'm sorry, it's a pin puller. So that one is made to go under the pins and pull it up. It's best to do it from the saddle. The white thing here is the saddle, from that direction. If you do it from this direction, you're likely to ding the guitar, or this direction. So if you grab that pin and lever it from on the saddle there, anyways, you can get that up. Another thing, when you're pulling these out, you want to keep the same pins, need to go back in the same spot, okay? Yeah, it's best not to mix them up. Okay, so when you pull that string out, sometimes I'll get a little stuck under there. This hole goes all the way through the guitar, and sometimes I'll get a little stuck and you gotta wiggle them or maybe loosen it a little bit more. All right, but there we go. I'm gonna put that pin back in there. All right, we're gonna take that and get rid of that carefully. Okay. All right. Try not to poke yourself, like I think I did. All right, we'll get that out of there. And we'll get the fourth one out of here. Again, sometimes you can just pull them with fingers. Sometimes, depending on how tight they are or how much tension's on them there, you might need to use the pin puller there to pry it up. All right, so we got our first string now. So first string here, I got the first and the fourth from that first packet there. Set that off to the side there. Okay, so the little brass ball will go in the end there. And now one thing I like to do is I like to bend that over just at the end, just a little bit there, because it needs to go around and hook underneath that there, all right? And so I like to kind of pre-bend it there so it kind of goes under and hooks around. That's not totally necessary. What happens is, if you don't do that ahead of time, then as you play it, the first few times you play it, it might slip a little bit, and that's okay. It'll find its place. You'll just have to re-tighten it up the first few times you play. Okay, and I'm actually just going to leave that up there for now. All right, leave that up there for now. Okay. All right. Now we're going to take the fourth string. All right, and we'll put that in there. Get a little bend, and we'll put that in there. All right, great. Okay, now, what do we do on the other end? So on the other end here, here's what we're going to do. Very important, you can see the strings that are still on there. They're going on the inside of the tuning pegs. That's important. You never want to go on the outside. We always want to get at least 3 or 4 wraps around this tuning peg. So what I like to do is adjust the hole in the tuning peg. Right now it's kind of going vertical. And so I like to feed it from the back side here. Now, you don't want to do this, you don't want to pull this tight right now because you want to get some winds around the tuning peg. So my gauge, I like to do this. I'm going to hold this slack over to the other one, and that's just a good gauge. Now, here's the key step, okay? We could just wind it right now, but what would happen is this would slowly slip, and then it would eventually grab and be good. But if you just start tuning this right now, twisting this, then it'll slip a little bit of time. So we're gonna lock it in there. Here's how we're gonna do that. I'm gonna take this extra tag end, and I'm going to, number one, I'm pulling the string down towards the bridge, and I'm gonna pull the slack in the opposite direction. Okay, kind of making a Z out of it there. Okay, now I'm gonna continue around with the tag end, the tail here. I'm gonna go underneath the string and back up. Pull it, and I'm pulling it so it bends right there. And then I'm gonna pull the string back so it bends, all right? What that'll do is that will, as we tighten it up, it'll lock in this tail and it won't slip. Now, the winds need to go down towards the headstock. So I'm gonna kind of hold that down. It's just being held by the strings there actually. And I'm gonna wind it. We like them to be neat. Preferably, you don't want them to overlap. All right, so you can kind of maybe see there what's going on underneath there, all right? So the winds are going from the hole in the tuning peg down towards the headstock, okay? And we want to get those lined up nicely. Make sure it goes in the right spot on the nut. Okay, and I'm just gonna do it kind of loose right now for a moment. Well, okay, that's good enough there. Okay, you heard it change pitch. That means something slipped, and that's okay. That's totally normal. Actually, what happened is the bridge pin kind of slipped out, and again, it'll kind of find its place. If the bridge pin pops up, just push it back down in. That's fine. I'm gonna take the fourth string up to its position here. Again, it goes from the inside of the tuning pegs. All right, we're going to slide that down in there, all right? Okay, and again, I'm measuring this slack over there. I'm kind of pulling it over towards the other tuning peg. A little slack there. I'm gonna pull the string down towards the bridge. And then I'm going to make that Z shape. So I'm pulling the tail the opposite way. See that? All right, bringing this around underneath. Take the tail up, kind of pull it kind of snug. All right, and then we're gonna start tuning it. Notice now I'm holding the string down towards the head plate there, the headstock. All right, tightening it up because I want some nice, neat winds all stacked up nicely. All right, getting a little tension there. Now notice I'm just doing it by hand here. You know, sometimes slower is better. You don't have to have that tool. Okay, a little tension there, that's great. Okay, all right, good. Now, sometimes it's useful to leave these. Some people like to If you don't have any cutters, you can kind of twist them up. Some people do that, like to let them hang. You probably don't want to let them dangle all full extent there. If you have some wire cutters, you can snip them off. You know, just leave just a little bit there. Okay, you don't have to leave too much. Okay. Another way, now if we locked it in like we did, you can see right there, that one just fell. You can actually sometimes just wiggle it a little bit, especially the first and second string, and it'll pop right off. That's a little trick I learned from my friend Brent Lamb there, who told me about something one of his techs did. So, okay, now, all right, let's loosen up the second string. The next pack here is the second and the fifth string. Okay, so I'm actually going to go ahead and loosen up the second and the third. I want to show you something here. Okay, so I'm loosening those up. Now, sometimes I'm going to re-loosen this first one again, okay? Just a little bit. I want to show you something. Okay, sometimes it's hard to pry these pins up. So if you can't reach it, the pins actually go all the way through, okay? So you can reach your hand in and reach back, and I'm pushing the pin from the bottom here, okay? And so if the pegs don't want to come out, if they're too tight to come out by hand, or you don't have one of these peg priors there, all right, then you can go underneath and pop them up, all right? All right, I'm going to pull out that second one, keeping the peg where it belongs, and the third, okay? And I'm going to go ahead and pull those two off. Okay, we'll get rid of those. Okay, and let's get our strings out here. We've got our second. I'm going to keep in mind that that is the fifth. Now careful, don't mix them up. I've had people that have mixed them up and they wonder why does it not tune? All right, once again, I'm bending that over to put it in there. Okay, and they're wondering why doesn't my guitar, it won't stay in tune? Well, if you switch up two strings, it's not going to tune right. Okay, the tension is designed to be, the gauge, the thickness, and the tension of the strings are all carefully designed to be just right. You can't switch them. Okay, so once again, okay, leave it a little slack. I'm measuring it across. I'm going to pull the string towards the inside, pulling the tail the opposite way, bringing the tail back around underneath, pulling it up. There we go. Tighten that up. Make sure it lands in the right spot on the nut there. Okay, once I have tension on it. Don't over tighten it. Okay, you don't want to chance breaking a string there. Just because when you're setting it up. All right, wait till you got a tuner to tighten it correctly. All right. Okay, third string. Gonna go a little quicker here. Hopefully we see the idea. Same. Next now, okay. So taking the string towards the inside, a little bit of slack, not too much slack. Okay, we don't want these wraps to go over each other. We're gonna pull the string back, pull the tail back around, tail goes underneath, pull it up tight, string's coming towards the inside, and let's tighten that up. Now, this will take a little bit of time, but I've changed strings lots of times. When I build a guitar, when we're doing setup, we'll take strings on and off 30, 40 times maybe on a guitar. All right. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Now we're going for 5. Okay, so they got a little tension there. Okay, so I like that. They got some tension. I'm going to go ahead and take off 5 and 6 here. I got the strings laying out there. Again, keeping them careful to keep them in order. You don't want to switch them up. Okay. All right. Taking out the pin, leave it in the same spot, put it right back. Those pins were loose enough there. Get rid of these guys. Okay, now we're going for the 5th string. Gonna bend that ball over just a little bit there so it hooks underneath. Okay. Hooking it underneath, push that pin down. Okay, I'm gonna turn this eyelet so I can, or the hole there, so I can kind of come back. Okay, got some slack, holding that slack just about the width of the peg head. Okay, pull the string towards the bridge, tail underneath. Now you can probably get away with the 5th and the 6th, and probably the 4th, 5th, and 6th string. You'd probably get away without doing that, locking that tail underneath, because these are wrapped strings, so they'll grab in that hole where the 1st and 2nd strings are not wrapped, so they like to slip. Okay, there's that. Okay, last string. This gets a little thick, but again, I like to kind of bend that over carefully. You don't want to break that off. If it does break off, you can kind of wind it back through and twist it up, and you can make it work so you don't lose a string if that ball end comes off. So I'm going to get that underneath, push the pin in. Okay, sometimes the pins, you know, at least at the first will ride a little high, but they'll go down. Okay. String coming back towards the middle. And this is a thick string, so you don't want that much slack on the 6th string. Bend the string towards the bridge. Bend the tail back, around, lock it again. Again, that's not totally necessary because these will really grab in that tuning hole, but I like to be sure. I like to make sure they don't slip. And again, you're only going to fit, maybe how you can see that there, about 3 wraps on there. So, okay. So 3 or 4 wraps each is good. With the 1st and 2nd strings, it's nice if you get a little bit more. All right. Okay, then you can either cut them off again, or that little trick that my friend Brent mentioned. If you shake it back and forth, then off they come. And that's a nice trick. I always was looking for wire cutters in years past, and I'd always just leave them dangling because I couldn't find wire cutters. And then I heard that, and I'm like, of course, just bend them off, and it works fine. All right, so use a tuner, tune it up. Okay, I won't do that now and there, but tune it up, and there you have it. Got your strings. Now, one thing too, these will stretch, all right? So the first couple times you play it, it's very normal. You'll need to tighten them. They'll drop. Sometimes if you like to kind of bend them a little bit here like this, gently, be careful. You can just kind of give them a little stretch. That'll kind of pre-stretch them, so you don't want to go breaking them, but you know, you can give them a little bit of stretch and then tune it up, because you see. So there's that. Now I'm going to stretch it. Let's hear it, the difference. You can hear the pitch drop because it's stretched, and that's very normal. All right, they'll stretch the first few times. So if you want to give them a little bit of bend, there you go. So now you can change your own strings, and there's nothing better than new strings on your guitar just to make it sound amazing. And it's a little addictive, so be careful because once you get fresh strings on there, it's a beautiful sound and beautiful feel. So, all right, good luck. Hope that helps. Thanks a lot.